Hey, this is Jordy Myself with the Midas Media Network, and I need you to stop what you're doing because you're going to want to literally share this video with everybody you know. I promise. A few weeks back, I had the absolute pleasure of going to the DNC convention. I was covering it as a member of the media. While I was there, I ran into Antjuan Seawright. Antjuan is a Democratic strategist. He was giving a presentation on all of the accomplishments that President Biden and this Democratic administration has been able to pass and push forward in just their 2 short years in office. Naturally, we invited Antjuan to come on the MeidasTouch Podcast to lay it out for our audience, and well, check this out.
As we get to the final stretch of this race before the midterms, what are those deliverables that Democrats can speak to their base about and say, look, and just speak to the country abroad and just say, look, here's what we did?
Let's start with the obvious. The American Rescue Plan, historical investments in HBCUs, $5.8 billion, billions of dollars to help keep people in their homes and pay their utility bills, shots in arms, keeping our schools open, money for veterans, not to mention wiping out the capital debt of historical Black colleges and universities. We all know that we cut child poverty in half for 1 year because of the American Rescue Plan. You add to that the bipartisan infrastructure bill that I oftentimes refer to as the Great American Update, because it's going to not only update lead pipes in this country over the next 10 years and remove them from communities, in particular those who look like mine, but thanks to the majority whip and my political father, Jim Clyburn, it's going to deploy broadband in every home in this country, not to mention updating ports, roads, and bridges. You add to that the CHIPS and Science Act that's going to really make certain that we make these chips in the United States to bring these elements home so we can get cars moving again in this country. You add to that the first gun legislation to be passed and signed into law into 30 years. And by the way, that bill is going to put money in communities for mental health. It's also going to deal with gun violence awareness in a real way, thanks to my dear friend, Stephen Horsford out in Nevada, Congressman Stephen Horsford. You add that to the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, billions of dollars going into fighting this climate crisis that we all are living through. Not to mention the fact that you have elements like capping prescription drugs at $2,000 for those who are on Medicare. You have capping insulin at $35 a month for those who are on Medicare. And then elements that we oftentimes do not talk about because there's not enough oxygen in the room. Updating your appliances, up to $14,000 to do that. Updating your windows and doors into your home. You add those things, and those are just a few things legislative that that Democrats have done. You add the executive order that he did with policing, whether it's banning no-knock warrants, banning private prisons, investigating police departments that have a practice of really doing harm to communities that look like mine. You saw what the president did after this right-wing extreme MAGA Supreme Court decided that women should not have a say-so in their healthcare decisions and whether those decisions remain between a woman and their doctor. You look at the most diverse cabinet in our nation's history. You look at the commitment this president made to put a Black woman on the United States Supreme Court. He's done that. And you look at the fact that he's confirmed more Black women to the courts than all other presidents combined. And so when people say, what has Democrats done? I oftentimes remind people, what the hell else you want Democrats to do? I live by this philosophy that I operate in this moment with Joe Biden having some of the slimmest majorities in our nation's history. He has accomplished more than any other president since the Great Society. I think that says a lot about who he is and about what Democrats have promised to do and what they have actually delivered on. And truth be told, while Washington, D.C. Republicans may not be in tune and may not be dancing with the two-step with the president and the Democrats in both the House and the Senate, back at home, Democrats, Republicans, and independents above 50% all have wrapped their arms around the legislative agenda that has come from Democrats. And so we have to sing loud and proud what we've done, because in any other moment in history, had we done one of those things, everyone would be lifting their voice singing.
I'm going to be honest with you, Antjuan. That was the most incredible description of the accomplishments one by one of the Democratic Party and Biden that I have heard to date anywhere. Period.
Ben,
Full stop.
that's not even an exhaustive list. That is just a pimple on a rhinoceros butt when you think about what we have accomplished with this majority. And it speaks to the need of why we have to come out and vote in historical record numbers in November. I like to consider myself as a person who works out fairly as much as I can, although I may not look like it right now. But when voting is an exercise, when we all go to the gym or do whatever exercise we do, we can't just do it one time and expect change to happen overnight. It's a continued exercise that we have to do over and over and over. And for the folks who sit at the back of the room and say, my vote doesn't count, my vote doesn't matter, in particular those who look like me, meaning people who, a lot of them who do not look like me, and often those who do not have the shared experiences I have, they would not be fighting tooth and nail to suffocate and suppress our votes all around this country. 50 states, over 300 pieces of legislation filed and or either passed to suffocate and suppress our votes.
That is just the most perfect summarization of what President Biden and this Democratic administration has been able to do. And by the way, that's an abbreviated version. So next time someone asks you, oh, but what have Democrats done for me lately? Show them this video. This perfectly lays it all out. Also, if you're inclined, please subscribe right now to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel for more unapologetically pro-democracy news. And if you're able to, hey, sign up for our Patreon, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Look, we're not funded by billionaires or millionaires. This movement is 100% fueled by you, democracy-loving people. Why? Because truth is golden. Thank you. MeidasTouch is unapologetically pro-democracy. And look, we know you are too. So please make sure you check out our best-selling shirt and our best-selling gear, the unapologetically pro-democracy gear. And hey, while you're at it, make sure you check out my favorite shirt and one of our most famous designs. It wasn't rigged, you're just a loser. At store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.